Hello and welcome back to another episode of Transport Fever 2. In this episode, we'll be back up here in the mountains, finishing up our train station and truck stop that we have here, and also coming down here to this steel mill, getting some details placed, and hopefully getting a train line set up between there and this machines factory. So I think the best way to go about this is maybe getting this line up and functional from start to end, and then we'll detail all the areas, and then after that we'll come back and make any adjustments that are needed. So our goal now is then to get a set of tracks running between this train station and travel all the way across the map over to this machines factory. And the tricky part's going to be figuring out where we want to connect up with this set of tracks. We could either choose to connect underground, sort of somewhere in here, and have the line pop out over here where it would go out and do whatever. Or we could maybe disconnect this and pull it out over this way and have it follow the outside of this mountain, come around, and then work its way around from there. I think we'll want to start by just getting out of this area first, and I think our best landing spot's going to be somewhere in here, whether that's a tunnel underneath this, or we sort of tunnel halfway. I think it might be just a bit too high to bridge over because we have a huge drop off here, but let's see what we can get by just bringing these tracks out and around from this end of the station. Alright, so we have our initial turn out here, and I think we'll go straight and sort of follow the top of this mountain here until somewhere around this area we'll turn and bridge over to this little gap here. Okay, so we've got our set of tracks coming out of this station here. We followed the landscape pretty closely, coming through this way, try to get onto the edge of this hill, and then we end up with a small bridge and a small tunnel up here, but still keeping everything at top speed. And now we're at the point where we can try to bridge over this gap. So I think this will be sort of the kind of bridge we'll go with, and that sort of sets us up in a nice spot to start working our way down on the other side of this mountain. So we'll place that and bring the second set of tracks right along with it. And then from here on, I think if we choose to do this, well, actually let's see if, so yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to really get the landscaping to fit too well. Maybe we do another bridge. I'm not too sure. If we did another bridge, I think we'll just go with the land. We can come back and make that look a little bit nicer later on, but now we can slowly start working down this face of the mountain, and I think we might end up with another bridge here soon. So yeah, it looks like we'll need another bridge here, but hopefully from here on out we'll be able to stay on the ground as we're getting out of this rougher terrain. So we can do that, and then pretty much from here on continue down into sort of this valley out here. So now that we brought our tracks out this far, I think we want to focus on the other end here and see exactly how we can get our tracks to end up meeting. So of course we can always just try the easy way of just connecting like so and see sort of roughly what we would have to end up building if we did this. And so it looks like we'd end up with a huge bridge across this valley, which I don't want to completely litter the landscape with bridges, so we might try to avoid that if possible. And then if we come here with our next option, which would pretty much be following these tracks out, I'm not sure if we'd get exactly what we want by doing this. Yeah, so it doesn't look like that's gonna really snap or connect. But if we wanted to connect somewhere out this way, we'd still end up with a bridge, but it almost seems more doable than the other way. I think maybe if we bring it somewhere over here, we could slowly work it down into the landscape and then come back up. So maybe we'll try something like that. Alright, so we've finally worked our way down into this area just over by our other steel mill. And that required us to pretty much peel off from the hill a little bit and give ourselves some space to move down, where then we go underground. And I guess we end up actually popping out here for a quick second. So we'll have to fix that later. And then what I was most worried about was intersecting these tracks, but we were able to lose enough elevation that we were able to bridge under or tunnel under without any issue. So then that comes straight out into a bridge through this forest, over this road, where it then meets up over here. And this bridge, although it's kind of long, is not as sort of intrusive or pronounced as some of the other larger bridges that we have. So I'm much more happy having this kind of bridge than something that would like start up here and bridge over like this. So now we should be able to bring these tracks into the side of the mountain here and probably connect up over in this corner. So then we'll simply drag off tracks this way, and we'll try to meet up with these tracks. I think we can actually just get this as one large curve, which is pretty good. We might even actually just be able to do something like that. And that would put us into a tunnel pretty early over here, but I'm okay with that, as that'll keep the tracks hidden for most of that trip. So we'll just drag that over, then we'll do the same thing, bring it around so it connects up underground on this side, just like so. And now we finally have this set of tracks laid out and finished. So first, let's place some signals. We'll get signals here at this intersection, and then we'll probably space out the signals on this line pretty far apart. We'll probably have 2, possibly 3 trains running on this line. So hopefully having only a few trains running here will work out fine, but I guess we'll never really know. And we'll have our crossover pretty far away as well, since we'll probably be running some decently large trains through here. And want to make sure it has enough space to flip around in this station, even though we do have a pretty large one. I think what we'll also do down here is increase the cargo capacity just a little bit more. So we'll do that, and then maybe we'll just have one of these on each end with a couple ramp platforms like so. So I think we'll be able to get our trains coming from this train depot. So we'll come in here, and this will be pretty much the train that brings steel all the way over to the machine's factory. So this will be the train that we'll be running. It's the very powerful EMD SD40-2 with countless flat cars behind it. I don't exactly know how many that is, but it does have 324 capacity, which is more than enough probably for what we'll need. So we'll only have 2 of those running, and this will go, actually let's have it start out here to this station, and then over to the machines factory, like so. And then we can set this to only load steel out in the steel mill and only unload here at the machines factory. We'll also set alternate platforms, although probably won't ever need to use them. But now we should see our massive train coming out over here at the cargo hub. So here's what this train looks like with all of those state cars behind it. I believe it just came out of the tunnel all the way back there. So this is a pretty long train. Hopefully it has space to turn around at the stations. If not, we'll have to fix that by either reducing the amount of cars that it has or moving the crossovers. But I think this should start working just fine then, and I don't believe there's any more connections we need to make at the moment. Alright, so we can see here in our warnings, this train is too long to turn around here, so that's not a huge issue. We just have to delete this crossover that's underground, which is going to be a pain to delete. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be really hard to get this. So we got that deleted. And we'll probably have to delete our connection here. So we'll pull this set of tracks back a little bit. Like so. And then we can't really see where the cars end. So we'll pretty much just sort of guess that it's somewhere around here. So we can get that in like so. And then we'll just have to pull this back far enough so it can pretty easily connect to those tracks. So it looks like our changes worked, and this train is now able to get out of this machines factory side. So now I'm pretty comfortable, just let it play through. The trains will hopefully space themselves out on the lines, and we can focus on detailing the steel mill. Alright, so now everything's functional. We have some steel starting to pile up over here. Let's get into detailing the steel mill, and then we'll come up here, put some finishing touches on this station, and then we can go through and make any adjustments to vehicles that are either underloaded or overloaded. So starting out here with the steel mill, let's come through and find some of our steel mill buildings. And if we take a look here, we have this large warehouse building, this one which is pretty similar, and then these sort of I guess these are like boilers or something. We have those, and then in here we have some chimneys which we can then use that is sort of dotted around the existing steel mill factory. Alright, so in terms of buildings, I think this is what we're going to go with. I think it's a nice addition to this area, and once we get the ground paved and sort of the fences laid out, I think it'll look pretty nice in this whole area. So let's grab our paint tool, bring that brush size down, and over here I think this is a gravel texture, so we'll go with this gravel 3 texture, bring it along here and erase these footpaths as well as this little patch of grass. So now that we've done that, we can come through with the asphalt tool and pave all of this area, as this is newer, so it'd probably have some nicer finishes to it, which will include this asphalt. So we'll pretty much just paint a rough outline of this area, bring it all the way out to here and across. We want to make sure we fill in everywhere where there used to be grass. And then somewhere around here we'll cut this back over. And so then we end up with this nice finished area where all we have to do is fence it off, clean up the edges, and then add in some smaller assets. Alright, so now we're all fenced in and the edges are cleaned up. Let's now add in a bunch of assets, which will most likely just include a ton of steel, iron, and coal laying around. But we'll start over here by placing a ton of this steel, so it looks like this is sort of the stockpile where all the finished product goes. And then we'll get a bunch of coal placed over here, right along this fence. We got that placed in like so. We'll have to find some spots for iron. We could probably place a few of them right next to it, just about here. Alright, so I think this is how we'll leave it off. We added some yellow lines to sort of mark off where things go. Had some trailers parked over here, and just threw a few small things here and there to bring the scale down a little bit. So I think with that, I'm pretty happy with how this steel mill looks. So we could probably move on to figuring out now what we want to do with this up here. So here we're going to try something a little bit different. We're going to see if we can get it to look like there's just a mound of iron and coal over here. And there's not really going to be an easy way to do this since we can't raise or lower terrain in these station areas. We can paint, so we can paint the coal asset into here. However, figuring out what to do with iron is going to be a little bit trickier. So I tried to come up with something that could work, and it really just doesn't look good. It's hard to get something that looks natural when we can't really fix or adjust the height of the terrain in here. So I think what we're going to do is, well, pretty much we'll first just delete that, and then we'll come through and erase all those rocks we placed. We'll fix this ground, and then we'll just replace that truck stop, and we'll do one with some platforms, and then we'll make the station look a bit nicer. Alright, so we have this place back in here. Let's now, first we'll fix some of this terrain, but then we'll come in here, find a building, which I think we'll just use one of these steel mill buildings. So let's actually try this one. We'll adjust the size of it so it fits across the whole platform here. We'll bring it forward, place that right about there, and I think that will really serve as a nice sort of storage looking building in this space. So I'm pretty okay with that. I think the last thing we'll do is just fill in this area with some asphalt, and then we'll place some coal and iron in this area here. Alright, so then we will use our paint tools and paint this side of the tracks and just sort of clean up the edges here so that this looks nice and neat. And then I think that's really all that we're going to do here. Alright, so this gives us a nice clean look. I'm not sure if there's really anything else we have to do here. So we'll just come through, smooth out the edges of this terrain, and then maybe we'll add some trees and stuff back in so that it sort of helps with this mountain look. We will flatten this out, sort of rough it up a bit so it continues to look natural. Alright, so let's now come around and take a look here. It looks like our distribution here is actually pretty even, which is nice. It looks like these mines are getting used pretty well. Coming down here and looking at our consumers, everything here looks good. And I believe if we find our trains here, they are also carrying a perfect 50-50 split of resources. Alright, so it looks like coming to this machines factory, everything is looking good here. Looking at our consumers, everything's seems to be working out besides this transport number, but I think that was because we had some trains blocked here that I fixed just before this. So I believe that number is going back up, which should mean good things. Now, I think something we will do real quick is manage this train, and I think we'll just duplicate it, because we did say we will want 2 on here eventually. So that should be coming out right from here, and hopefully that'll ensure that all of this gets transported down to the steel mill. So now I want to come back to our passenger transportation, as it's been a little bit since we've looked at that, and we've definitely unlocked some new trains since then. And it looks like this Jackson-Santa Clarita line is our most in-demand line. And if we come and check at the individual stations, we have a bunch of people waiting here. And over on the San Jose end of this line, we take a look. There is also a good amount of people waiting here. Now we might have to come through and upgrade or improve the buses in each of these cities as well to further improve demand. But first, let's try to improve this train. Alright, so I think the trains that we're going to upgrade them with is with these new EMD AEM-7 trains. We can see the top speed of 124 miles an hour. However, the cars we're going to be using are the All-American Golden Sand cars still, since even though we have these unlocked, which can match the top speed of our engine, they're almost twice the weight, which means even though this train can carry 152 people, if we were to use the same amount of cars with this car instead, our top speed rating would pretty much be cut in half. I did this earlier and we used about 5 of these, and it would be able to get up to its top speed in about 5 minutes. And that's not that great considering it'd be fewer capacity and a lower acceleration. So we'll go with this, and it is slightly less capacity than the previous trains, but it does improve the top speed by about almost 20 miles an hour. So hopefully we'll see these continue to work out on this line. Now, to help continue filling out this station, we can see here we have a ton of people waiting at the bus stop. So we're going to come in here, grab these vehicles, and replace them with some of the newer buses that we have. As you can see, we have quite a few. And I think we'll go with probably these GM fish bowls still, as those are pretty good for what they are. They have better capacity, better top speed. So hopefully that'll help continue to move people around the map more. We might also, here in Santa Clarita, duplicate and get 2 more buses going around through the city, which hopefully will help with these overloaded stations. Now, coming over to this bus station in Jackson, it looks like we're able to keep up with it, which is pretty good. Looking around here, maybe the ones within their respective cities are getting a little overloaded, but I don't see any huge major problems here yet, besides maybe a little bit of traffic starting to come in through here. So quickly, just to sort of help with that, we'll turn this road into a bus lane only road, which should get all the private transportation off of here so that all of our buses can flow in and out of this street pretty easily. So now another train that I want to take a look at is this one here in Downey. There is still a huge demand to move people between Downey and San Jose, and we only have 1 train running on that line. However, I think I want to maybe change this train to something maybe smaller and faster and get a few more trains running this line. So we've unlocked quite a few of these multiple unit trains, and some of these are really good at moving people around. So I think maybe if we get something like the Metroliner or the Intercity 125, I think one of those trains might actually be really good for a line like this. So I think we'll start out with the Metroliner, as this one can get up to its top speed a little bit quicker than the Intercity one can. It looks like we do need to upgrade this to an electric train, or electric tracks, I should say. So we'll quickly electrify the whole line to San Jose, and then we'll come back when we see if that new train will work. Alright, so now we have our train running here between the two cities. We're just going to see if it gets up to its top speed of 120 miles an hour, which looks like it was able to get through that before the other train did, so that's good. And I think it might actually be able to reach it before it reaches the station. So we could probably come in here and we might get 3 trains running on this line then. So we'll duplicate it once and one more time, and hopefully those will space themselves out as they go through between these stations. And then I think one other train that we're going to upgrade in this video is this train here that runs between Jackson, Winston-Salem, and Albuquerque. Now we have our sort of express train between Albuquerque and Jackson, but this one makes all the stops in between there. So I think we might grab both of these and replace them with these Intercity 125 trains, just because I want to see if we can get a train like this working on this line. So we'll have to follow it as it goes through the stations, but I think if we can get this to work out, it'd be pretty cool. So based on the looks of how it's doing so far, I think it will be able to reach its top speed on this line, probably somewhere on this straight here, so long as it doesn't have to slow down, which we might have to redo if that's the case. But I'm very excited to get a train like this running, as they have much faster loading and unloading times than some of the other trains that we have running through here. So they're able to get a ton of people in and out really quickly. Now, I know I said the last one was the last train that we were going to upgrade, but I think this train here going up to Birmingham is definitely one that we need to upgrade. So let's grab this and see what kind of options we can find. So now for this train, we'll be using these EMD F40PH trains. They're not quite as powerful as some of the other ones like these up here, but I think this will suit this line pretty well. If we take a look here at its speeds, it can get up to top speed in about 4 minutes. We might take one car off the end there, so it works a little bit better and has a slightly higher top speed on medium slopes. This train might not do well, so we'll keep a close eye on it, but this should be at least an improvement for this line. So lastly, let's just come in here and take a look at our lines and see what's making us the most money and what's losing us the most money. And it looks like our newest train here between Jackson and Santa Clarita is making us a ton of money. Some of our newer electric passenger trains are up there, including the intercity train that we added between Jackson, Winston-Salem, and Albuquerque. Everything else seems to be doing good. We have some truck lines that are being very profitable for us. Let's take a look at what's losing us money now. And this seems to be some of our newer trains, so the machines to the cargo hub and the new one we have from the steel mill over to the machines factory. This goods train still isn't quite there yet, but we still aren't fully connected up to the goods network, so that also makes sense. And it also takes a while for that train to go back and forth, so maybe that's just the numbers not working out right now. However, something that's odd looking at this graph for that train is it used to make us a ton of money, but recently it's dropped off for some reason. So maybe there's something going on where something's limiting this goods factory, and maybe we're just not producing as much as we used to. So quickly, what we'll do to help with this goods factory is I think we're beginning to run out of plastics now instead of steel. So we'll just come to this chemical plant, and these trucks just aren't leaving with anything. So I believe it's the oil trucks that are bringing the oil from over here. If we take a look, we are missing a few. So not exactly sure what's going on here. I guess we're just not producing as much oil as we thought we were. I am worried that maybe something with this is messing things up. So we'll delete this industry, since maybe some of the oil coming in was going to that industry and it was just wasting it since it's not connected to anything else. But what we could also do is grab these ships, and we could definitely probably afford to upgrade them. So we can pretty much double our capacity by using these ships now. So that should help out a ton. And then lastly really is just these vehicles. I think upgrading these to better tank trucks such as this one should significantly help with how much plastics we're transporting to the goods factory. So anyway, while we wait for that to maybe fix itself and go back to its normal rate, that's going to be all that we're going to do in this video. So with that, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions or feedback, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.